What's going on, everybody? My name is Terry. Today we're going to be talking about part 4 of our Applied Energistics series. This is a more advanced topic on Applied Energistics, but it is incredibly powerful, especially if you have a big sprawling base. I'll just say like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. It really does help us grow as a channel, and we'll hop right into it. Today we're talking about P2p interfaces, and if I come here on this ME controller, you can see that there is a P2p Tunnel Interface here. Here, I'll place another one just so we can get another look at it. These allow you to pull the channels off of an ME controller and put them into a singular channel. Now, there are no free channels in Applied Energistics. That doesn't really work like that. But it does allow us to save resources when we're transporting information across big distances. So rather than run 4 different dense cables all the way out to these 4 rooms of a base, if we're imagining that this is a base, we simply run one cable out and we use the power of P2p to ensure that we are capable of doing that. Now, the way that it works is fairly simple in understanding. It's a little complicated to set up, but we'll go over understanding first. The only bit of understanding that we really need to know is that each time we put a P2p face down, it has a corresponding face somewhere else. So think of it as having entrances and exits. If I put an entrance on the ME controller somewhere else in my base, somewhere else connected to this line that I'm going to set up, I can have an exit. And it will take all those 32 bits of information, those 32 channels, and put them as available to that exit. So we can see this in use here. I have 4 P2p tunnels here. 4 tunnels. Think of these as the 4 entrances. Each one corresponds with an exit that's down this line. So this one I have 32 channels coming off to a storage here. This one I have 32 channels coming off to a storage thing here. These are 2 different exits, and then the last 2 exits I have a automation for ore and an automation for crafting. Each of these has 32 channels. That's 128 channels of information being sent along one smart cable. Not even a dense cable, it's just a regular smart cable. And it has to be a regular smart cable, just for the record. I can't use a dense cable for this because that's how P2p works. So the concept is fairly simple. We save energy and we save resources by running one smart cable to power 4 different dense cabled rooms, as opposed to running 4 dense cables to power 4 different dense cable rooms. So now we're going to talk about how all of this works. It's a little bit complicated, but I figure it's best to show by doing. So I'm going to set this up again. As I said before, here's 4 different P2p tunnels that we're putting out here. So I'm going to connect these with this lime smart cable. And we'll see right here in this corner that we have 4 channels hooked up already. These are the 4 entrances. So now when we come out this way, and let's say we can imagine that this is our base, we can have 4 exits and we won't overload this one corner here. It can only have 8, so we can do 4 entrances, 4 exits. That's sort of how this works. So I'm going to put a P2p tunnel. There's 4 exits there. Each one of these is an exit. Each one of these is an entrance. But as you can see right now, if I look at this, it says that the P2p tunnel is offline. If you look up here in this top left corner, it says device offline. And the way that we power that is to actually provide power. As I said, there are no free channels in Applied Energistics. So what we have to do is actually supply power via channels to these P2p interfaces. And the way that we do that is by using another channel. So if we, say, happen to have a line going up to like a mob spawner or something like that, all we have to do is provide power, and this will use channels, right? We're providing power to each of these P2p entrances and each of these P2p exits. So here we can see that we are using 8 channels. That's the nature of the beast. There's no way around it. You have to use channels in Applied Energistics. But now we have a lot of flexibility in where we can put those entrances and exits. All those channels are not attached to this line. They're attached to a different line. And we save on the time and resources just by making this one small line. The next step, and the part that eluded me for the longest when I was first learning this mod, is that we have to link the entrances and exits. So we can't just set them up on a line and expect the system to figure it out. We have to save it and figure it out. So what we have to do is use this thing called a memory card. If you come right here, you can search for a memory card. And we can see that it's actually not all that expensive. You should have all of these materials if you're setting up a Applied Energistic system already. But we take this memory card and we shift right click and we grab the frequency of a port. So as you can see in the top left corner up here, again, we're looking up here, we can see that it is unlinked, but it has a frequency of 2989. If I look above it, it says 000 because we have not started the process. But right now, on our memory card, we have a frequency, and I can shift right click and change that. Now we're 353D. Let me just clear the weather and reset the time. So now we need to provide the corresponding exit on our system. So now we just come to a P2p tunnel and regular right click, no shift right click, and it mirrors up that frequency. It says now in our top left corner that we are linked. This is the output side. We have the same frequency, 353D, and this exit corresponds with this entrance. And we can copy this process to all of our different P2p tunnels. So we have an unlinked one, we take its frequency and we copy it here, and they are both linked. They have the same frequency. If we do this 4 times for each of our P2p tunnels, we can see that we have 4 outputs, and from those 4 outputs we can take any color cable, just to prove that it does not matter, to any type of room, to do any type of activity that we need to do in Applied Energistics. Now each of these exits has its own set of 32 channels. Each of these channels is 0 of 32, so we can run up to 128 devices, 32 on each of the exits, all from this one setup of P2p tunnels here. So again, to beat the dead horse, we're saving time and resources on this smart cable by running one long smart cable as a backbone. Think of it as like an internet backbone. And then we have these offshoots that allow us to take those channels of information, these 8 channels of information corresponding to 4 exits, and offshoot that information into 4 different rooms in a base. I know P2p can be a little bit daunting and sort of confusing, but if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm always more than happy to help. If you'd like to, you can check out our Twitch. We stream every week. You can find the link to that in the description below. Next week, we're going to talk about a more advanced controller, one that is kind of silly in the number of channels that it can create. So just be on the lookout for that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And hopefully we'll see you next week.